I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a capitalistic world that's always usually choose the easiest way to get things done, fastest way to get money, and the most practical ways to get access back. This situation sometimes leads to the unhumanization and poor work treatment for humans in general, and the lack of appreciation to process. But first, I'd like you to imagine a small industrial town in a developing country, which there was a textile factory that once employed over 500 workers, but after switching to full automation, only 20 remained, and they're mostly machine supervisors. And it caused hundreds of people to lose their job. The local economy collapsed, and worst of all, no one was held accountable. This is a growing reality all over the world, and the problem goes beyond factories. Even artists are losing jobs because of automation, leading to AI-generated artworks being used without consent, pay, or proper regulations. Because as long as it's fast and easy, humans will always take everything to feed their greed in this world. But first, what is automation? Automation is the use of machines, AI, or robotics to perform tasks previously done by humans, especially in manufacturing sectors. In this motion, we as government propose heavily to tax them, which means giving a significantly high financial charge or penalty in the form of taxation. And this will be done to corporations that automate majority of their workforce, meaning that we're more than 50% of the human labor are being replaced by machines. We'd like to propose three things in order to crystallize this debate. First, we are not anti-technology. We are okay with automation, but we are not okay when companies don't take social responsibility for the harm they cause. And second, taxation is a tool to balance corporate profit and the well-being of public economy. If companies benefit more by removing humans out of the system, they must help the government support those humans. And third, this motion is about fairness. If you cause mass unemployment, you pay part of the cost to fix it. The status quo in this debate is that automation is extremely expanding, especially in manufacturing corporations, where government rarely intervene or impose costs, which leads to rising unemployment, big amount of sudden layoffs, and inequality, especially in developing countries. The problem in the status quo is that, first, people lose their job without any support, and usually it is people from the lower middle class or people with high poverty levels that didn't have safety nets to hold on when they are losing their only way to get money, which is their job. And second, companies save billions without giving compensations to workers who are getting laid off. And third, no one is paying for the social cost of automation because the lack of proper rules and regulations in doing it, leading to no one wanting or can be appointed to be responsible for the impact of it. By this, our goal is to support taxation of companies that automate the majority of their workforce to A. Create incentive rules for companies to balance between machines and human labors. B. Fund retraining programs and social security to make sure human resources can improve and will make better impact to economy by having higher level skills that can be juxtaposed or automate machines or at least balance it. And C. Ensure a fair transition to an automated economy. This will lead to a world where companies are automating more than 50% of the workforce will pay a progressive automation tax, and it will fund job retaining programs, unemployment safety nets, and incentives for companies that invest in mixed labor models. We as professionals will need to prove that first, massive automation creates large-scale and long-term negative impacts. Second, companies are not bearing the cost of these impacts. And third, taxation is the most effective tool to fix this imbalance. And we will prove them by moving to our substantive arguments. What is the urgency of this debate? It is urgent because millions of jobs are already being lost, with governments are being unprepared with it. Acting to fix the problem now will prevent long-term structural employment. And why is it justified? First, corporations benefit from automations, sometimes too much that they are getting more than deserved. And second, workers and taxpayers bears the cost of unemployment, which are supposed to also be supported by the very own party that caused that, which are the greedy corporations that use automated machines without proper regulations. And third, it is fair to ask those corporations to share that burden. And why is it more effective and give more benefits than harm this way? Because companies will be more cautious about replacing humans for the case of money and the stability of the corporation. Funds will also directly improve social resilience, and it will lead to big encouragement at a responsible innovation model and system, not a reckless one. Alright, even if the opposition might say that automation helps innovations and it improves productivity. Alright, we'd like to go back to our proposal that we are okay with automation, but not at the cost of human lives and dignity being harmed by it, and the increase of unemployment. We don't stop innovation, but instead regulating it with proper responsibility and a big consideration for the impact that it brings to this world itself. If opposition say that automation saves money, we do admit that it is right. But back to our argument, the problem is who pays the price? When a company automates, they save on wage and insurances. Meanwhile, the worker loses their job and income. It creates a system where corporates enjoy massive efficiency gains while the human case cost is externalized. This structural injustice is often seen in many parts of the world where factories automate, they just lay off hundreds and move on without compensations. And a heavy tax faces corporations to internalize the cost of the harm they create. And second, this issue also goes beyond blue collar labor, where in Indonesia and across the world, we are seeing human artists being replaced by AI in creativity because there are none of proper regulations in using it, from visual art to writing and music. Thousands of artists report their work being scraped by AI without consent, and sadly, many people belittle their aspirations as long as they can get fast results, erasing human creators from the economy. But by using our model as the government, Companies of platforms that use AI to replace human creator will be taxed and the funds can support A. Legal protections for artists on intellectual property, B. Their subsides, and C. Ethical AI research and licensing standards. This model creates a world where AI supports creators instead of replacing and exploiting them. Moving to our next argument, by using our model, we'll create long-term economic stability. Automation does boost efficiency in short-term time, but in long-term, it destroys the foundation of the economy itself if not regulated properly. If your AI replaces thousands of jobs, you should help fund the system that supports the people's lives that are being impacted by it. This motion is not just about machines, it's about people. Taxation is not a punishment, but instead the price of progress done right. If you automate, you must contribute and take responsibility for the impact. Proud to propose.